The pharmaceutical industry is a complex and fascinating field. It takes countless of people to bring a high quality product to the market. In the Qualitalks podcast, I bring to you leaders, experts and innovators who will share their experiences and explain to us how they do it. Welcome to the Qualitalks podcast. I'm Jan Kugel, your host, and my guest today is Ashwani Tripathi. Ashwani is the head of compliance at Alembic Pharmaceuticals, and today we'll talk to him about aseptic manufacturing. So, hi Ashwani, great to have you on the Qualitalks podcast.
Hi, Ann. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Could you give a little overview about what you're doing? Only a few sentences about your position as a head of compliance?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm responsible for overall compliance of sterile manufacturing, including manufacturing compliance, quality control, aseptic practices, engineering compliance, IT compliance, which all are background to manufacture a aseptic product which will supply to the US market. So means basically we are manufacturer for you.
So you're manufacturing to USA for the USA export.
Yeah. This means we are basically manufacture for US only. In future, we will go for UK or other markets, but this time we are focused on US only.
Okay, and that means that you comply completely with the USA Pharmacopoeia. You get a lot of audits from FDA.
Yes, as we are in Greenfield project, we just filed the exhibit batches and we are looking for the PAI inspection. Once the PAI inspection will clear, then we will commercialize to the US.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you're basically starting completely new production. So as I understand, so for those who are not familiar, correct me if I'm wrong, a greenfield project, it means that you build a manufacturing facility completely from scratch. It is not an update,
exactly.
not an upgrade. It's completely new land and completely new manufacturing facility.
Yeah.
And what product is that, if you're allowed to say? Is it injectables or pills?
Yes, it is injectable and ophthalmic products.
Okay. So because you work in a completely new manufacturing process, new and greenfield project, so it would be really interesting to go into details with you about aseptic manufacturing. So let's take a simulation, okay? Let's build a plant for aseptic manufacturing. Let's think about what's important from all the sides, from the equipment, the building, the clean rooms, the training of personnel. Let's go into some details there, but address only the most important parts as you see them. Okay, so let's say we want to plan a greenfield project for aseptic manufacturing, and we need to design the room. So what would you take into considerations?
So the basic consideration for clean room clean room design is that classification of the area, that where we are manufactured our final product, that is manufacturing and filling. Good example for aseptic practices, that manufacturing is one section, filling is one section. Manufacturing is done in grade B, while filling is done in grade A. So the acceptance criteria of both the grade is very much stringent, and it is quite difficult to maintain it. But with the adequate design and adequate training of the personnel, we will be able to maintain it and manufacture our final product with the good compliance of quality.
What do you do about the design in regard to cross contamination? So in such manufacturing, it's really important really to divide the rooms, to divide even the levels of the building, so the raw material comes in from one direction, the final product goes from another direction. Am I correct?
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. So we mainly follow the unidirectional, means the material flow shall be different from the man flow. Man and material flow shall be quite different. Means there will be a way of material flow, and there will be a way for man flow. And we will prevent the cross contamination
Mhm.
by providing the differential pressure from higher grade to lower grade. Means the higher pressure air um, uh, could flow in one direction, that the lower grade air cannot enter into the higher grade area. So this is the basic principle to prevent the cross contamination.
Mhm. So when you build such a project and such a manufacturing facility, it always something goes wrong. I worked on such a project, and I know that anything can go wrong. So what people need to take in consideration from your experience, and uh, how should they avoid it?
So mainly before taking the any commercial batches, we must qualify our facility, our area. That shall be well qualified and well established. And once we have a great confidence that we have designed our area adequately to meet the acceptance criteria. If we feel anything deficient, if we feel any challenges during the qualification, NBPC and NBPC means non-viable particle count, as well as that it may affect the differential pressure of the area also, because once we will not getting the good airflow, then we cannot meet to the ACPH and ultimately not maintain the differential pressure of the area.
Mhm. Yeah. So what else is very important to take into consideration in the clean room when you design them?
So for clean room, the important thing is to environmental monitoring. That we have to monitor the viable particle count into the area. That we will evaluate it by, or checking it by exposing the media plates. And the very important thing is that placing the media plates at the design places, which is very much scientifically rational, that from where it is the high chances of ingress of microbes, that we have to select that place, and we have to place the media plates there. And after exposing for a certain time of period, means approximately of 4 hour, and we will pick out and incubate it up into the incubators for the desired temperature to provide the environmental condition for the growth of the microorganism. And we will count it. If it is out of control, then we have to increase the cleaning level of the clean room. Monitor the differential pressure of the area, means which prevent the which prevent the uh, entering of low grade air into the high grade air, which is the most contaminated part in the clean room area. So we have to evaluate all these parameters. Once we are getting the failed result during the plate exposure, after doing all this correction, again we will expose the plate and getting the result. If it is comes under the acceptance criteria, then we can only move to the next stage.
Mm. Okay. And if we are talking about the compliance side, so with such project, you really need a really good risk assessment, uh, risk analysis, and also really good change management uh, to really document everything that you do and make sure that everything is completed in the right order, and so on. So how do you manage it in such big
So
projects?
yeah, means for sterile manufacturing new plant, it is very important to do the risk assessment, because everything is new in that means our facility is new, our personnel are new, our equipments are new, our qualified inside clean room area is room new. So we have to do the risk assessment prior to execution of any batch, either is for exhibit batch or is for the validation batch. So we have to design a good risk management document in which we have to completely describe the severity, detectability, and occurrence of the any risk occur during the qualification of the sterile manufacturing clean room, during qualification of the equipment, as well as during qualification of the personnel who will work into the aseptic area, because man is also a prone for the microbial contamination, air is prone for the microbial contamination, equipment may yield some contamination during the manufacturing. So we must cover all means these three things into our risk assessment part, and we evaluate each and everything with their severity, means which risk is how much severe and what is the detectability for that severity, and what is the occurrence, means how often it may occur, either it occur in 6 months or it occur in 1 year or it never occur. So based on this SDO principles, severity, detectability, and occurrence, we have to manage our risk assessment.
Mhm. Yeah. So that's everything sounds right. And for the change management, do you use electronic systems?
uh, yes, we are using the electronic system QMS management.
Mhm. Okay. And
So complete flow is there in electronic system, that from the initiation up to the closure of the document.
mhm. And what challenges have you encountered during uh, those phases of the risk analysis and the change control during such projects?
So challenges is only that means there are many of the peoples are new to the new project. So means the basic understanding to the new project is very less to those persons. So for that we will encourage for the better training. So once they will trained on our system, they will better understand the risk occur during the each step of the manufacturing. So from that part, we will increase our change management philosophy, our risk management philosophy, our deviation philosophy, our proposal of kappa. So only the things is that we have to educate our people, we have to train our people. The meaning, the tools we are using for training is quite impressive, which gives a adequate knowledge to the personnel.
Mhm. Okay. And what about unexpected deviations, for example?
Unexpected deviation is that
Are there
means
many of those?
yeah, it occurs in a new project because mainly we qualify it and we go ahead. Then certainly we found that differential pressure goes out of limit. That and what will be the probable causes of those differential pressure out of range. So when we investigate, we found that means the that door closure was not properly, and there will be a hole from periphery of the door. Now we extend our investigation, then we found that that was not a part of our checklist, then we include that in our checklist, and again we also investigate that how many other these small loopholes are missed out. So we identified many things and added address into our checklist so that the similar occurrence cannot be happen in future.
Mhm. So I know it from experience that in such projects there are a lot of unexpected
Yeah,
deviations,
exactly.
a
Yeah,
lot.
exactly.
So how
Yeah.
do you approach such deviations, and how do you assess them according to their criticality?
Yeah, there is two way. One is that we will directly file the deviation and investigate it in thoroughly. Second is that we incorporate it into our validation protocol, qualification protocol. So whatever the deviation occur during the qualification, we will write it into the protocol only. And if we write it in our protocol, then the number of deviation which will occur during the project will be less, because the chances of occurring the deviation during the project stage is very much high. And if we file deviation for each occurrence, then it will be numerous. So we try to address it into the protocol, write each and every deviation into protocol, initiate a separate investigation for each deviation and address it with the qualification protocol only. And based on that investigation, we find out the root cause, we propose the kappa.
Mhm. And then you separately address each deviations and how do you categorize them according to minor?
Yes,
What are the
there is
categorization?
categorization.
Do you say numbers or minor, critical?
Yeah, there is a categorization philosophy that we categorize our deviation into three categories: critical, major, and minor.
Mhm.
Critical is those deviation which have direct impact to the patient safety. Means if those deviation has the potential effect which will cause to the patient safety, means there will be threat to the life of the patient, then it will be critical, which is always applies to our final product only. Because once product is not released, then it does not have any effect to the patient safety. Because once we have own control of not releasing the product, then there will be no harm to the patient. Second category is major, means those deviation which have major impact to our product quality. Means there will be alteration in CSPQ of the product, safety, efficacy, identification of the product. Then it will categorize at the major. If there is a deviation which does not have any impact on product quality as well as patient safety, it is only documentary correction, or it is only correction in our routine practices, then it is categorized as a minor.
Mhm. Yeah. So is the usual best practice. So so we covered that. So if we go to the next step, so now we have the clean room. So we covered it really in basic way. So now we go to the equipment. So what
Yeah.
do you take into consideration when you choose the equipment and make sure it fits the room, and you make sure that the room's also big enough uh, to put those equipment in the rooms. So what
Yeah.
are your biggest consideration here?
So mainly as guidance says that equipment is of adequate size, area is of adequate size, which enable us to movement of the personnel, to provide the adequate space for cleaning, so that no hard to clean area will be out of reach to the personnel. So as far as equipment is concerned, the two things is important. One is that it's a size to manufacture of the batches. Second is that its design, which is easy to clean after batch manufacturing, so that none of the particles shall move into the next product. So equipment is considered for two things: manufacturing spaces inside the equipment, as well as it shall be smooth and flat surfaces to clean out. Similar principle is applied for the area also. That area surfaces shall be smooth so that no particles can be adhered into the crevices. It shall be very much easy to clean before and after batches, and that it shall be qualified also, that we have cleaned the area, we send the sample for this, and we ensure that there will be no any residue, or the residue which is there shall be in acceptance criteria. So the next part is that we validate it as a cleaning validation of equipment as well as area.
Mhm. And how do you qualify the big equipment? Do you work closely with the suppliers? Do you do site acceptance tests?
Yeah, we mainly do the site acceptances, factory acceptance tests, design qualification, installation qualification, operational qualification, performance qualification. Once we have good confidence that the equipment which we purchase is performing as per our URS, user requirement specification, then we release it for the routine uses. Once we found that it is not meeting our acceptance criteria or it is failing to some consideration, then we notify it to the supplier. Supplier will correct it. Then only we will move ahead.
Mhm. And what is the most critical or complicated equipment from your experience to qualify or to get it to work correctly?
So mainly in sterile manufacturing, two, three equipments are important. That is manufacturing vessel, isolator, and filling machine. Because the filling machine is critical with respect to that filling dose into the final container. Once it will not qualify in a good manner, then it will not fill the desired quantity into the container, and it will lead to the some market complaint, as well as it will not provide the adequate quantity of drugs to the patient. So considering the criticality, filling machine is critical, following by the manufacturing vessel and isolator. So these three equipments are important to qualify with the very high range acceptance criteria, and the expertise is required in qualifying all those equipments. That's why we always request to the supplier that they will train our people to qualify it. They will show the demonstration, they will show some presentation to understand the critical aspects of the equipment. As in today's scenario, that all equipments are automated. So the philosophy of automation, the principle on which they are working, how they deliver to into the end result, that we understand, and on that principle we will qualify it.
Okay. And it's great that everything is automated, and then comes the human right part, right? So now you need to train the personnel, and how does it go? So from uh, my point of view, the people are the most critical part in aseptic manufacturing, because they're the ones that
Exactly.
usually contaminate the product with microbes, with body parts, with maybe equipment, and so on. So how do you deal with it, and how do you take it into consideration?
Yeah, exactly. After facility and equipment, personnel is the important aspect. That personnel are the main carrier which brought the microbes into the clean room. So verifying that the person uh, would not carry any microorganism from outside to inside, we have do the personal monitoring, personal qualification, and train to them for the aseptic behavior inside the aseptic area. So that for that we have the plan for the personal monitoring. We have the frequency for its periodic verification. We have a training program that we mainly use. That means training is generally like that, not reading the SOP, not reading any booklets, not reading any guidance. We apply the practical training approach, like providing the video, like providing the some like providing the some flow charts, that how your movement is important into the aseptic area. Means if you don't monitor your movement in the aseptic area, then we will not assure about the integrity of the clean room is maintained. So for that, first thing is that personal monitoring is there by doing the finger dab, by taking the sample from their critical body parts. We send it for incubation and taking the result of all those things, so that we can get the assurance that personal does not carry any microorganism. Once they enter into the manufacturing aseptic area, then we have a clear cut guidance and presentation display inside the aseptic area, that they have to maintain their movement, they have to monitor their movement, which is not very much frequent, which is not fast. That slow movement is required inside the aseptic area, that their arms and elbows shall be in a very disciplined way, that it shall be hang in the air. That means it will not ingress any microorganism. Sitting is not allowed. Long term standing is not allowed in the aseptic area. Once they feel fatigueness or they feel tired, they came out from the aseptic area, take a break, and after that they again went into the aseptic area, so that the cleanliness of the clean room shall not be disturbed.
Mhm. What else is very important from the personnel aspect?
uh, Important is that cleanliness of the personnel, that person must maintain the hygienic condition. They means whatever the basic requirement of our personal hygiene, that daily bath is required. They shall not have any open wounds which may contaminate our area. That the complete body who is working in the aseptic area shall be covered. The gowning which they are using must be sterile. So we have again a proper control on gowning, that only sterile gown shall be used by the person working in the aseptic area, and that sterile gown is kept in the control area, that is in grade C, sorry, grade B. So person taking off their street garment in grade C enter into the grade B, where they pick up the sterile garments, wearing the sterile garments, sanitizing their hand, entering into the aseptic processing area, and that there is a clear cut instruction that the personnel shall not touch each and everything during the manufacturing. Only the things they are required to touch during the manufacturing, they are restricted to touch those equipments and accessories only.
And from your experience, do people follow all the instructions completely, or there are some occasions that there are deviations? And what are the most common deviations in behavior?
Yes, exactly. There are deviation, and its deviation occurs in all the sterile manufacturing, because all these things which is to maintain is very much tough for human, because means there is human nature apply everywhere. So means mainly that the very common deviation is that people are not maintaining the discipline which is designed for the clean room, that how they may walk, at what level they have to maintain their hands, how they have to swing their hand, what they have to touch and what they have not to touch, either knowingly or unknowingly. That person may fail to maintain this. So the main challenge is to maintain this, that we develop a strategy that we allow the person to not remain in the area for more than 4 hours, by doing the fatigue study. That means the person standing into the aseptic area more than 4 hour is proven by the study. So we allow only for 4 hours, or before 4 hours they must have to come out from the area for refreshment, so that person can maintain all these basic things. Either we allow that to not stand for 4 hours. If they feel to come out after 2 hours, after 3 hours, they can came out, and we can push another people into the aseptic area, so that our manufacturing will not hamper, as well as the integrity of the clean room shall also maintain.
How do you control it? Do you have a shift managers? Do you have a shift manager that reviews what the times someone got in and when he should take a break?
Yes, we have shift manager, as well as means access control of the area also. That through access control we will be able to know that at what time the person enter into the area, and what will be the end time for that particular person. And also there will be a logbook in which they have to enter the time, at what time they are entering into the area, and at what time they must have to come out from the area always. And also there will be random verification by quality assurance department.
Mhm. So do you so each person needs to put his name on the log, and then the shift manager or somebody reviews the log and makes sure that the people that work there comply with your regulations.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh-huh. Okay, and what about the other parts, for example, that people move incorrectly, move too quick, or they hover over the product, or they touch the product. How do you monitor it?
So means generally it is monitored through camera, but means putting the camera into the aseptic room is again risk to the clean room. So we are not putting camera inside the aseptic room because again we have to maintain the cleaning of the camera and means integrity of those cameras. So for that we have random verification from outside the aseptic room that by the view panel. So through view panel we are monitoring randomly and watching to the people they are maintaining to the defined procedure or not. If any person is finding that they are not maintaining the aseptic behavior, then we immediately warn to the person.
Mhm. And what happens then? Do you put it as a deviation, and as a kappa you need to
Yeah,
train the
exactly.
person?
E- Exactly, we filed the deviation for this departure of the aseptic behavior. We check with the personnel, we check with other practices why it will happen. We if we need any correction, if we require that some extensive training to the personnel, we will provide. If the same case is happened again, then we will take the action against the person against the particular person
Okay.
because with the same training the other personnel are working good, someone or very few is not managing these things, then it is a definite personal problem.
And if you sell to the EU, so you're familiar also with the new Annex 1 modification that have to do with sterile manufacturing. So what do you think about the new revision?
Yes, exactly. We are following the Annexure 1 and we are following the PDA technical guidance. These two are the key notes for the sterile manufacturing. As Annexure 1 is completely guiding us for the GMP requirements, and we construct our sterile manufacturing as per GMP norms, which described by the FDA also, which have guided by the PDA also and Annexure 1 also. So our clean rooms, our background of the clean rooms, our man material movement, our warehousing, our engineering practices is designed in a very good manner so that facility related things we are confident that it is quite impressive from the other sterile manufacturing.
Mhm. And the Annex 1 strives now to be so Annex 1 strives now for a more risk based approach, as many
Yes.
other approaches that the FDA now tries to go more into risk based approach, and Annex 1 to the risk based approach. So what do you think about it?
Exactly, means that Annexure 1 is mainly focusing for the risk-based approach for each and every aspect. So based on that, we are following the risk-based approach and we prepare a consolidated risk assessment for the whole facility from means inclusive of warehousing to the manufacturing to the filling to the dispatch to the also we include the transportation management also means transport validation. Once we dispatch our product into the market, if there is any risk during the transportation, we have also include, and means this is important and this must have to follow by the all companies.
Mhm. So what do you think most companies don't do that they should be doing?
Yes, means that important thing is that once we have dispatched the batch from the company, our responsibility is over. That is not like that. Till that batch is not reaching to the supplier, reaching to the distributor, and means the companies who are manufacturing the sterile products or any of the products, it's a completely company's responsibility that it shall reach to the individual patients with the good integrity of the quality.
Mhm.
So we must have to extend our qualification and validation to that level also. Also, if we will not be able to qualify at that extent, then we must have a risk-based approach.
Yeah. And as the head of compliance, um, how involved are you with the risk assessment?
Yes, means each and every risk assessment is completely reviewed by my team as well as myself. If if there is any lacking or if there is any correction, we enforce people to include it. Once we will not satisfy with the regulatory norms, we will not move ahead.
Mm. So, what is the escalation phase? So, who drives the risk assessment in your company? So, I know that many companies have the QA department that are the responsible for the risk assessment. They're the one who drive the risk assessment. They're the one who call the people to the table. So, how much of the responsibility lies on the department itself? For example, the manufacturing or the quality control.
Yes, so risk assessment is mainly generated by the user department, reviewed by the quality assurance, and final approval is done by the site quality assurance head.
Mhm.
Before going to the site quality assurance head, my team has assured it that each and every component is entered into the risk assessment document. If anything missing, any important part is missing, that must be caught before moving ahead. If anything which has difficult to address, it will be escalated on timely manner, so that the senior management can involve and make it happen, make it possible.
Mhm. So you escalate it also to the senior management when you see
Yeah,
that there
yeah,
are
exactly.
some really critical problems that may cause harm to the business or harm to the customers. So it's uh, it's been escalated then.
Yes, exactly. Because their involvement is required somewhere. Because sometimes that middle management is not able to purchase the costly equipment or accessories which can prevent our quality issues. So for that, they are seeking for the senior management involvement. In that case, we must have to escalate it that this system is required to enhance our compliance level. This system is required to reduce the market complaints. This system is required to reduce the patient risk. This system is required to means maintain our company's reputation. So in that case or any other case, we have to escalate it to push up to place the good things in our system.
So I find it is a great approach because I know that in some companies or some departments, people are afraid and don't want to escalate some of
Yeah,
the risks
yeah,
because they don't want to spend more money on some equipment and they just prefer to bury some of the findings. As, for example, something that is critical, but it doesn't have a high occurrence or detectability is high. So they think, okay, the chance that it would happen is low. But if it happens, the risk to the patient and for the company is still very high. So,
yeah,
what do you
exactly.
think about it?
Yes, of course, means this is the important thing, and we must have to means we assess our yearly data. Means that what is the detectability level of any of the risk, how often it occur. Once we find out that it occurs very often, its repeatability is very high, then we definitely come with the strong kappa. And if that kappa requires the interference of the management, then we immediately notify that we require this system, and that also management is agree for applying the good things into the facility, so that it will not affect to the patient who are purchasing our medicine. And we are also a reputed company, so we don't want to lose our reputation in the market.
Yeah, it's very also very important, and that's why also the upper management must be involved also with uh, the operational risk analysis because they need to understand that if something happens to the patient, even if the risk is low, it could really damage the company's reputation. It could influence the revenues and so on. Because I find it there is sometimes the problem that some companies don't want to invest money in equipment because they say it is too expensive, but they don't think about what could happen, even if it's like 2% of chance that it could crash the whole company if they don't invest additional specific amount of money.
Yeah, most of the company don't want to spend in equipment and personnel, but these
Mhm.
two are the very basic. One means how much we will invest in purchasing the good equipment, how much we will invest into our personnel. These two things will give us the better output.
Mhm.
Means our motivated people will enhance our will increase the efficiency level of our work in routine life.
Yeah, I agree with you completely here. So, Ashwani, thank you very much for talking to me and sharing your expertise in aseptic compliance. I hope it would help people in this business area to understand more, maybe take some of the techniques that you use. So, thank you very much for that.
Thank you, and we'll be happy to take another more topics for discussion.
Perfect. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you for watching or listening to this episode of the Qualitalks podcast. I hope that you found it helpful. If you did, consider sharing it and subscribing so you don't miss a new episode. Stay compliant and see you in the next one.